then this is where we go. So welcome again, and I would like to give it to the speaker, to Giselle. Let us know what we need to know.
Okay, well, um, I'm so honored to be speaking with my community, and I say my community because I first, well, can I do a screen share?
Of course.
Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen. I threw together some photos to share with you. So let me see if I can pull that up here. So can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's me in Aspen, Colorado a few years ago. And I thought these monkeys were sort of like the spirit of the motorcycle community for me, right? Which is just to accept all the people that, you know, you meet and come across. And that was me when I first threw my legs over at 8 years old over a motorcycle. I was a tomboy. And I'm not sure there's anything I can share with this community other than my experience. And when you reached out to me, it was to sort of share some of my adventures. So I'm going to share a couple of those with you, and hopefully they're meaningful. That was my first motorcycle that I actually, like I had a first motorcycle in my 20s. So I'm 54 years old. I'm Canadian. I'm from a little town outside of Toronto, Ontario called Collingwood. And I have now in the past 7 years ridden all 48 lower states and 7 of the Canadian provinces. So let's just say I fell into this passion. As I like to say, I got rid of a husband and I traded up to a motorcycle. So it was a life-changing experience for me to get back to riding in my late 40s. So I started on the Shadow 750. But there was an experience for me. This was in Sturgis, and this is not really important to, except for as a backdrop to the story. When I started riding again, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to this experience or how long you've all been riding for, but rejoining the riding community, you know, in my late 40s, I had the good fortune of hanging out with some really amazing riders. And they had all gone off to Sturgis, and this would have been 2015. And I had just gotten my Honda Shadow. I had just started riding again, and I wasn't familiar with the motorcycle community at all. And I went out to a couple of local rallies, and I'm talking to my buddies as they're in Sturgis. And I said to them, guys, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm part of this community, because the you know, sort of very conservative upbringing I had come from, and I'm seeing a grandmother there in, you know, thigh high boots and short shorts and a crop top, and I'm thinking, is this the community I belong to? And I said to my buddy, yeah, I don't know if these are my people. And he said to me, just give it he said, these are your people, and just give it some time and you'll understand. So this is 2015. So I said, okay, I'm going to reserve judgment, because it was overwhelming. And I think for someone coming into the motorcycle community, as it's only 7 years ago for me, but in that time, I've done over 100,000 miles, because I just fell so hard in love with riding. And I decided to reserve judgment and sort of put that aside and learn about the community first, put the people first. So in 2016, I went with a group of guys. They agreed to take me along with them, and we went to Sturgis. And this is actually the picture, the first time I rode down the strip in Sturgis. I wanted my hair flowing. It was just this iconic moment for me that I came to this wonderful world of riding. And from there, I became curious. I wanted to know everything. Like I saw people who were bikers for Jesus, bikers against child abuse, like every form of person came together, and I talked to all of them. I wanted to know why they were there and how the interaction came between the community. And what I started to quickly understand was that the grandmother who was in the thigh-high boots and the half top, or these guys who I met along the way, are just like, we are the color. We're living this wonderful life with being able to laugh at ourselves and live with some non-judgment. And what it did was it made me a better person. And able to communicate with anybody that I came across. So what I ultimately found was incredible friends in this amazing community that led to so many journeys. And as I would like to often say, is we're all misfits. That's all. And this is the actual breast patch on my motorcycle jacket, which I like to refer to the Rudolph story of King Moonracer's island of misfit toys. We're all misfit toys trying to fit in. So what ended up going on from there was some interesting stories. So in this picture, this gentleman right here is Senator Ogden Driscoll of the great state of Wyoming. So on that first trip down to Sturgis, one of my buddies, this guy here, Tom, says to me, I'm going to take you out to meet my buddy, Ogden. I have no clue that Ogden is a Wyoming state senator. So we ride out to Devil's Tower, and I soon find out that Ogden and his family actually own all the land around Devil's Tower. And this is a story that isn't on my blog, but I have got permission from Ogden to share it with you. And they actually owned the Devil's Tower itself until 1908, when it was expropriated as the first US monument. And when interestingly enough, we ended up chatting, and Ogden's telling a story about when Steven Spielberg is sitting with him and his father at the kitchen table negotiating the rights to use their land for the filming of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And just these amazing stories. So, you know, we show up at Devil's Tower, and my buddy, we're at the reception desk of the KOA, which Ogden and his family and his wife Zany own. And he says, can you give Ogden a call? And the receptionist there is like, well, you know, he's I don't know that he's here. And she calls and says, you know, Tom is here. And the receptionist surprisingly puts down the phone and goes, he's coming right out. And she's all surprised. Ogden comes out, hosts us for lunch, and says to my buddy and I, he says, you know, I keep telling him every time he comes back, I keep telling him, you got to come and stay in the guest house, which their guest house is 5 miles away on the same property overlooking Devil's Tower, right? So, but he never accepts. And my buddy says, well, I don't want to impose. And I push him aside and said, we're going to impose. So this was the beginning of an awesome relationship. And that night, this is actually a picture from us on a wagon ride, and Zany, Ogden's wife, is driving the tractor and taking us around this massive property with deer jumping everywhere. The sun is setting over Devil's Tower. And I'm thinking, where would I, this, you know, woman from Toronto riding a motorcycle, ever have this experience except for the motorcycle? And that's the biggest transformation that I could say is my motorcycle riding has been, I can tell you about all the great rows. I can tell you about all the amazing places, but it's the people. And I think that's a common bond within our community, is that the people are what transform us. So we rode all around the property that night. And then we get back and Ogden says, let's go watch the movie. And I'm looking around, I'm asking, the people, what's the movie? And they say Close Encounters. So at the back of the KOA, there's this big outdoor movie screen with the Devil's Tower in the background, and you're watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind with the actual Devil's Tower in the background. And we're sitting there, still the bottle of Jameson going back and forth across the crew. And Ogden says to me, this is the first time I've watched the movie. And I said, what do you mean? You must have watched it. He said, well, I watched it when it first came out, but I haven't watched it since. And this is what, how many years later? And I said, that's not possible. And he says, yeah, I just haven't watched it. And as the scenes are coming, he says, oh, I was in the helicopter in that scene. Oh, those are my friends from Hewlett were in this scene. And he's talking about all the different elements of what's going on. And I looked at him and I said, well, why? Why now? And he points across to my buddy who's like a couple people down. He says, because of him. And I said, well, but why? And he said, because 11 years earlier, my buddy's bike had broken down in front of Ogden's ranch. And Ogden, it was a battery issue, and Ogden helped him out. Took about 3 hours. They became friends. And every year since, my buddy had gone back every time he was in Sturgis and stopped in to say hello and say thank you. And he says, and Ogden said to me, I've probably helped 120 people in front of, who've broken down. He's the only guy that came back every single year to say thank you. And I'm thinking that only happens in the motorcycle community. Would anybody else do that? So here I went into my motorcycle, joining the motorcycle community, not knowing if I fit in or not, and realizing that the only thing you had to do to fit in was just not judge anybody and accept people for who they were. And if we get on those, we get on that bike, that's all that defines us. So that's one story. You asked me to share some interesting things. That's one. I will tell you that, these are just some shots. Riding across the desert is hard, especially because I'm from Canada, which means my departure is, I have a 6-month season. And so departure is generally in the summer. So I think this is Bryce Canyon, and it was about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So, and I don't do well with heat. So finding ways to survive. Cadillac Ranch in Texas, like just been everywhere that my wheels can take me. Of course, that would be the Black Hills. And so I wanted to just, before I throw it out there, if there's any questions, I mean, I don't know what I could possibly tell you that you don't already know, but there's something that I think is really important, which is the 2 most important words in motorcycling. And I'm going to stop my screen share there. And so in my journey of the last 100,000 miles, I have gone down twice. Both of them were in my first season. Both were at about approximately 50 miles per hour. And both were in rain. And I kept on riding. And the accidents aren't the most important part, but what a friend of mine, this group of friends that I was riding with, they had a philosophy, and I share this wherever I can. And I was recently interviewed on a motorcycle safety podcast, and I talked about this. 2 most important words in motorcycling for me are the most dangerous word, which is sudden, and the safest word, which is space. So that's the filter through which I have put all of my riding. People will sometimes criticize me and say, well, you ride without a helmet? Are you crazy? If I'm in a state that doesn't have helmet laws, I will, but in certain circumstances. So if ever there's inclement weather, I've got a helmet on. If ever I'm in a high traffic or a metropolitan area, I have a helmet on. If it's nighttime, I have a helmet on. And those reasons are because nothing ever happens slowly. Nothing bad ever happens slowly on a motorcycle. It always happens sort of all of a sudden, right? So everything I'm doing when I'm riding is scanning for that moment. And I wish they taught this in motorcycling in this way. I mean, we're taught to look in advance for things that could happen, but look for what could happen suddenly that you're not expecting. That's everything about my mindset. And then the other thing is space. So how much space do I have around me in any given moment? If I can control and mitigate space and sudden, I'm happy to go without a helmet, which means if I'm riding through the Bryce Canyon in Utah, where I can see a mile in front of me, there aren't any other cars around, there's no animals coming at me, I'm going to have that experience of riding without the helmet, but I'm going to do it with managing and mitigating the circumstances. So I don't know if any of this has been valuable to you. I can say that this past 2 years has been hard. As a Canadian, not being able to come to the US has been heart-wrenching. Not being able to come to Sturgis, which I've done every year since I first went, has been it just leaves me heartbroken and heartsore. The greatest topography on this planet exists in the United States, and some of it trickles up into Canada as far as riding, but unfortunately we don't, except for on the West Coast, have the same number of twisty roads that are available to you in the United States. The gift I found in this has been that I spent the past 2 summers going out to the West Coast. So out to lower interior British Columbia. And if anybody wants to know a secret riding place that is, I mean, I've done the Pennsylvania mountains. St. Louis is amazing. Tail of the Dragon is incredible. The Black Hills is always outstanding. Pacific Coast Highway. I made a list of the top 15 roads and did them all in the United States. So, but there's a hidden gem in Nelson, BC, which is just over the border from the US. And there's this most incredible place called the Toad Rock Motorcycle Campground, which is almost like a mini experience of the culture of Sturgis, of the biker community all coming together. And the motorcycles all rumble out in the morning between 8 and 9 a.m. and everybody rumbles back between 5 and 7. And it is the most divine and wonderful place. And the roads around Nelson, BC are, I would say, akin to the roads around Sturgis, except most of the rides around Sturgis last for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, and then you sort of end that road. These roads go on for hours and hours and hours. And had I not been forced to stay in my own country, I would never have discovered this magical place. So if there's anything I'm going to give the group tonight, is if you are so inclined to cross over next summer, you will be pleasantly surprised by the roads around Nelson, BC in that area.
Would that area be part of what's called the Selkirk Loop?
I don't know what the Selkirk Loop is. Is that part of Highway 3 that goes across Lower BC?
Well, I'm not sure either, but our fellowship has regional directors, and the regional director in British Columbia is planning a route for the Selkirk Loop, and it's a loop of roads. Half of it's in Canada and half of it's in Washington. And So I was just curious. I don't know the Selkirk Loop myself, but when he puts on this ride, I hope to get up there and do it.
I don't know the name, but I can tell you that Highway 3, if you look, just, take a note of it. Highway 3, which crosses along the bottom of southern British Columbia, is spectacular. Like, that alone is a road worth going to see. But the interesting thing about the area around Nelson, which I tend to think we're talking about the same thing, is there is Lake Kootenay, which is a long, a tall lake up and down. It's about 150 miles, if not more, just in one direction. And the roads, and it's got mountains that are 10,000 feet high on either side. So the roads, imagine that. You've got the spectacular view of this massive lake with these twisty roads that just go around and around and around. Everything in the area is just, it's mind-boggling. I was howling out loud as I was riding my motorcycle because the twisties were just endless.
So,
And you can see
so
in the chat,
for reference, I just pulled up Selkirk Loop, and it goes, in Canada, it goes through Creston,
Yep.
Balfour, Nelson, Salmo. And there's a road, which is the one I think you're talking about, that goes east to west over to Creston. And then in America, it goes into Washington to Tiger, Usk, and then Idaho, Sandpoint, and Bonners Ferry.
Yep. We're talking about the exact same thing.
Yeah, can I share my screen real quick?
Yes.
Amanda put also a link on the chat. When you look at the chat, there's something in as well. When you open the chat.
All right, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the map. I just did oh darn. Well, there it is. So that's the red is the Selkirk Loop, and I assume you're talking about this road here.
Yes, that's part of Highway 3.
Yeah, it probably goes further west, I'm imagining.
Yes, all the way across the state or the province, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's spectacular riding.
We have one of our members who lives north of Seattle. I'm already going to send her a link to the Selkirk Loop. And I feel like Toad Rock Campground would be her jam too.
Toad Rock is, I can't say enough about it. It is the owner, Mary, started the campground 18 years ago. Be forewarned, there's no power, like, per se, at your campsite. It's all lit around, but it's just this beautiful place where everything's on the honor system. You check in, you go to the bar, you take whatever you want, you take your firewood, you take anything you want, you check yourself in, you check yourself out, and it's all in the honor system. You put a Ziploc bag with the money in at the end. It's a beautiful thing, and the culture and the nature of the campground. Like, when I was there this year, I went behind the pavilion, which is fantastic. It's just this beautiful place of vibrant energy. There's pool tables, there's big screen, there's a bar, there's all this. And I went to grab a water bottle from behind the bar, and a guy looks at me and says, "Hey, you gonna pay for that?" And he's just another camper there. And I said, "Don't worry, I'm putting it on my stuff." He's like, "Okay, I'm just taking care of Mary." Mary's the owner, right? So it's just a fabulous place. They have cabins which are built out of old school buses and VW vans and camper trucks and boats, and it's all just full of character, and including the people who are there are interesting characters from all over the world.
Only 2,500 miles away from you, Amanda.
I realized though that, Giselle, you must have ridden almost that far from where you are.
It would be, it's actually more than that, about 3,000 miles from my house to the Toad Rock.
We
But
have,
you know,
we actually have
push
quite a,
hard.
yeah, we actually have quite a few members in your general area. So our club has members all across the US and Canada. We've got one member in Mexico City and then one member in Guatemala. So on this call right now, Uta and Deb are in Houston. I'm in the DC area. We've got Ron's out in California. Let's see, Rob's in Maryland.
Scott is in California as
Rob's
well.
in California, and Larry's in Las Vegas, and Rory's in Michigan, and Keith Lindgren is somewhere different every week, but I think home base for him is Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach for the time being.
But we have members. So our Rotary district is actually Southeast Michigan, and then the area around Chatham, Blenheim, and that whole area in Ontario. So
Wow, that's
we've
very,
actually-
so it's not far from me at all.
no, not
By
at
the
all.
way,
Funny.
by the way, the last motorcycle rally will happen next weekend in Galveston Island in Texas.
Wow.
So you're not allowed to come back and forth just yet, right? You have to prove vaccine and they have to be both the same and everything.
Yeah, we're still waiting for, I mean, I got double vaccinated in the spring, hoping to come to Sturgis, right? So, but just with the way it worked out, didn't happen. So we're waiting. I haven't updated on what the latest is, but I'm fully expecting that by next year, I'll be crossing the border again, because, for me, the quick ride to amazing roads is Pennsylvania. It's basically 4 hours from where I live. Hey, yes, right. And John, as you can just keep going for days and days and still find amazing roads, right? So
I live just outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
I love Gettysburg. And do you ever go to the Steel Steed?
Go to where?
The Steel Steed campground, motorcycle campground.
No, I'm too old for camping anymore.
Well, so I decided with my sort of wanderlust to do the tent thing with the motorcycle, and just to sort of live that sort of on the road life. And the only problem has been, now with Zoom, I can spend more time on the road. So this summer it was great being out west, because anything I had to do for work was on the East Coast. So I could get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, be on meetings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then go out riding all day. And it was perfect. So I made this big decision that this coming motorcycle season in front of us, I was going to spend more time. So 6 to 8 weeks on the road. But in order to do that, I had to accommodate my dog. And so I ended up buying a one-wheel trailer, having one custom made actually this past spring, so that, because she has to ride on the passenger seat, normally I have all my gear on the passenger seat. So yeah, so next summer will be all summer long on 3 wheels, 2 plus 1 trailer wheel.
Wait, so does your dog wear goggles? We're gonna need pictures.
Oh, shoot. Hang on. Well, yeah, they're on my website. So I did a piece on how to acclimate your dog. She doesn't like the doggles, so I'm gonna try what are they called? This year I'm gonna try they're the one-piece ones. They look like a set of ski goggles, because the other ones she pulls off. But she's been riding now for 6 years, so she's been riding almost as long as I've been re-riding, and she's probably got, I would say, 50,000 miles under her belt.
What is she, a bigger dog or a small dog?
She's a 11.5-pound Jack Russell Terrier, and she loves it. Like when she's riding on the back, nobody's paying attention to me. They're all just watching her.
What a mess. We have one member, IFMR member. It's the International Fellowship of Motorcycle Rotarians. This is where John wants to invite you to be a member of that fellowship. And because it's international, wherever you're going, you will find motorcyclists. And there's one guy we have here in Houston. He's working actually at the Space Center. and he have a little dog. He's going with him in the backpack wherever he's going. If he's in the air, if he's on the motorcycle, if he's on the kayak on the Gulf of Mexico, doesn't matter. This dog is following him, you know. It's so amazing, really amazing.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So what do you do when you're not able to ride? I suppose you have to have a job as well.
Yeah, unfortunately. But as far as passions and hobbies, I mean, I think I fundamentally need to be outside, and I think that's why riding works for me. It's so important to my life. So in the winter months, I fill the gap with I snowboard and ski, and then wait for the horrible month, you know, that sort of from the 15th of March to the 15th of April here is like torture.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same thing with sort of right now we're in that part of the year where it's torture for me, because I can't do the one sport to keep myself occupied, and I can't do my motorcycling, which I love. I certainly could still motorcycle, but we had snow today, so it's probably not a good idea.
Wow, today snow. Okay.
Jerry had snow at his house today too, Uta. And
Wow.
he's just outside of Detroit, Michigan. So yeah.
Okay, we have a little bit cooler, but we had still today 70 something, you know.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you poor thing. It was 30.
Envious. Oh, you were asking at the beginning about
What
gear.
must-have gear?
Okay, so this I can speak to with knowledge. I have long hair. First of all, you have to have stuff to tie that back, and because otherwise it will be destroyed. Guys, you can just ignore this segment. But if you send me a message, I can't think of it off the top, I'll send you a link to the most incredible. It took me 4 years to figure out how to deal with my hair. There's a thing that if that very first shot you saw the thing over my head, the wrap, your hair will never be a mess again.
Is it a Racy baby? RACIBABY?
No, it's a woman named Michelle, and she always has a kiosk in
Bandanas by Michelle.
Yes,
I know
Bandanas by Michelle. Thank you. I have like 6 of her bandanas. I've had people all over every time I wear the I have them on all the time, who stop me and ask. They're amazing. It's the only thing, it saves your hair.
Deb, you need to send me that over.
I will. Michelle, I used to live actually up in Minnesota, so I know Michelle. I know
she's amazing.
She is. Actually, she should be here in Galveston next week, as a matter of fact.
And she knows, just say Giselle the blonde from Canada. She knows exactly, because I've sent her so many customers.
For us women, it's a very small world. It is amazing when that goes on.
Especially as women, it's a small world.
The other for me must-have gear is, this was something that I just went through years of frustration and then finally decided there had to be a solution, which is waterproof motorcycle boots. You're going to end up, if you do any serious riding or long rides, you're going to end up in rain. And after years of frustration, I finally said there's got to be some motorcycle boots that are waterproof. And Harley Davidson has some great ones that are actually made by Merrell, which is an athletic footwear company, and like it's a game changer to have waterproof boots. Game changer. The other thing for me, because I'm in a northern area, is a heated base layer. You know, one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is that when we get cold, and there's been lots of studies around this, being cold or having your body temperature drop is equivalent to being impaired, and sometimes even worse. So you lose a lot of your cognitive skills. So just as a safety element for me, my heated base layer and being able to plug that into my motorcycle battery is critical. The other must-have gear, I'm not big on having my sound play for the entire neighborhood. So I have custom injected headphones done by Fit Ear. Now, Fit Ear, if you look them up, has been bought by another company now. But they're at most of the big rallies, and they inject your ear. They give you so that it's noise canceling. I can still hear the sound of horns or sudden sounds, but all of the noise of the engine and everything is canceled out. I can hear my music, but I play it at a low level, so I'm not busting my eardrums. So I think for me, that's a must-have piece of gear. And the other thing that has been a game changer for me, and I only adopted it this year because of a hand injury, was what's it called? The throttle.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Throttle.
A cramp
It's not-
buster?
Throttle lock.
Throttle lock. Thank you. Who said that? John? No,
Oh, I
Larry.
did.
Yeah, throttle lock. So I got the throttle lock, and I got it. I was interviewed by was it Wes or Len? I can't remember. One of the podcasts, one of the motorcycle podcasts, and interviewed me, and I was listening to the subsequent interview the next week, and they were talking to the makers of throttle lock. Total game changer. I had been thinking about getting a cruise control for my motorcycle, but I'd been reading about some of the downsides of it, right? You're going up hills and different things like that. And this is just an amazing game changer. So it's a piece of equipment I would highly recommend for anybody if you haven't looked into it.
What do you ride?
I ride a 2014 Victory an 8-ball Crossroads. So it's a very limited, there's only a few hundred of them that exist. I had fallen in love with a friend's bike and Victory. I was just getting ready to upgrade from my 750 back in 2016. Victory had, or into 2017 season, and Victory had just stopped making their motorcycles, and I was really upset because I was planning to buy one and wanted that specific one. So I actually found somebody who had a medical condition, and it had 1,500 miles on it. And so I basically, I joke, I stole a motorcycle because he was giving it away, basically. And so I love it. I'm going to ride it into the ground. And one of the things that I love to do at every single rally I go to is test ride everything. So I just test ride, like that's my favorite thing. I'll just go for the day and go from one dealer to the next, to the next, to the next, and just test ride everything I can. So I've got a pretty good idea of what my next motorcycle will be. It'll probably be an Indian.
Yes.
So you'll have to figure out if you're going to go the way that I went, whereby there is nothing on it, or the way that John rides, where he's got a cappuccino maker. Maybe there's somewhere in between.
Yeah, but the frothy thing isn't working right now.
So I have a
Bubble the
Scout.
exhaust through it, John. Just bubble the exhaust, it'll work.
Yeah, I don't know how tall you are, but I'm 5 foot nothing. So my Scout is just perfect for me it was funny. I always thought I probably looked pretty cool. And then I got pictures back from our last ride, and it looks like I'm on a little kid bike next to everybody.
Well, I have to tell you, Amanda, I test rode the Scout. And so my Victory is like 1,731
I was gonna
cc,
say,
right?
you've probably got your eye on something more like a.
It's a big bike, and I'm not a really big girl, but yeah, that's a feeling. So, and when I rode the Scout, I just giggled the entire way. First of all, I accelerated and almost threw myself off the back of the seat because it takes off so fast, and there wasn't a lip on the back. So I was like, wow. And I got back to the dealership, and I was just laughing. I said, this is the most fun bike.
That's cool.
The
That's
Scout's
cool.
a really cool bike. I've driven it before too. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I most definitely, the first day I had mine, put myself in the median because I didn't anticipate the throttle being as punchy as it was.
It would totally beat my motorcycle offline without question, right?
so
Not even a question. But yeah, I think the only question I have is whether I love the sort of I dream, like, you know, how we see ourselves on the motorcycle. I see myself on the motorcycle like I'm a real badass. And I know no one else sees me that way, but I see myself that way. So I'm not sure if I'm ready for a fairing, but we'll see for my next bike.
Well, I've already built my my heritage that so we'll see what the next bike is. We've got to stop buying bikes in my house. We went from, so I'm in a very similar situation. I rode all through high school. I rode dirt bikes. I had a Sportster in high school, and then I got married, had kids, did the army thing, and turned 40 and went, wait, I need to ride motorcycles again. So I just got back into it as well.
At first, she joined the club for sure.
First I joined the club.
So Amanda, it sounds like you've given up on our raffle motorcycle from Maggie Valley.
No.
Your tickets.
I don't know if you've ever been there, but there is a motorcycle museum in Maggie Valley, North Carolina called Wheels Through Time. Highly, highly recommend a trip if you haven't been. And we went down, we did I know you have your raffle tickets, and they're raffling, is it a 42? It's a 42 panhead, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I know we all have our tickets, but you guys have the limited tickets. And when he started it up, it actually went Amanda. And I was like, hey, that's my bike. But in the very unlikely event that I do not win that bike, I may upgrade my Indian to a bigger Indian.
When it's a deadline from this?
November 15th. It's coming up.
20th
Oh,
is
it's
the
coming up.
drawing.
The drawing is November 20th.
Oh, okay.
I got the winning ticket right here.
That's unfortunate that you think
No,
that.
no. It's down here, John.
Yeah.
It's upstairs in my office. So yeah, we all went.
Can I ask a question?
Of
Does,
course.
does anyone have any really unique rides that they're planning? Like I was just sort of cruising the chat, something about Egypt, and
Yes. John was there.
you
Yeah,
were
I
there.
went on the Cross Egypt Challenge.
Yeah.
And we got next year's route planned. It is, you get either a scooter, about 150 cc's, which is what I rode, or you get a motorcycle, about 100,000 cc's. And you go over 2,000 kilometers through the deserts of Egypt. It's fantastic.
And
CrossEgyptChallenge.com.
I'm writing it down right now.
I was just gonna post it for you in the chat here.
And
And
one
the
of
other thing, what we want to do with the club in 2023, Jim is working on that. It's a Pan Americana, going to Pan Americana. So if you want to join us, feel free.
Well,
you know.
I've been looking at that right now. Like I was looking at for the spring of 2022, although I think I may wait another year just to let things calm down as far as COVID goes. I want to do Peru and do sort of South America. I feel like I would like to try adventure bike riding. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Amanda, you know a little bit more about that, right? But
I only know how to fall off of my bike and run into trees.
Well, I apparently am good at falling. I think that comes from my skiing life. but I would love to try some, you know, just go into some amazing places. I've been to Peru before. I've done Machu Picchu. I've climbed there, but to do it on a motorcycle to me would be absolute heaven.
So John
Jim,
just posted,
is Jim still there? He can tell you a little bit about that.
he's on, but his camera's off, so he may have gotten pulled away.
Okay, so the idea came from a German IFMR group, and they started that, and then we wanted to do something, and it was not happening. And then Jim stepped in, and he organized it with the contacts from Germany. He organized it, and yeah, he's on, right, Jim?
Yeah, I will send you the information, the maps and everything on that. So
Yeah. So
I'm
you
more
got it.
worried about the State Department advisories right now, but we'll see if it clears up.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then Giselle, so we, you know, our club is part of Rotary as an actual club, but on this call, everyone on this call is also a part of the International Fellowship of Motorcycling Rotarians, which is truly international. It's kind of a sub club culture of Rotary. So Larry, I'm pointing to my corner. I don't know where he is. Larry is the president of the North American chapter, and I'm actually the director of your where you live. So everywhere on the Northeast. So we can definitely keep you in the loop when we're having rides and make sure that you're aware. You're more than welcome to join, even if you're not a Rotarian. You're more than welcome to join our rides and join the fellowship. And then we'll
That
of
would be
course
amazing.
talk you into being a Rotarian, because it's very funny what you were saying earlier about, who would ever come back and say thank you year after year. And I'm like, Rotarians would do that. Right. So I think that's you would fit in well.
Yeah.
Long way to say you would fit in well.
And it seems like, based on where I'm getting the sense that everyone's from, you're all in places that I'm going to be riding against.
It was funny when you said before, I'd like to do these long rides, but I got to take my dog. I'm like, well, we all have houses and we're kind of everywhere. So.
And we have also the international convention from Rotary International comes up. It's next year in Houston, Texas. So it's right in front of our door, Deb and my door. Yep. And we're planning a ride for 3 days after the convention to the hill country. When you're talking over twisted roads, then you have to ride the sisters, so.
And hopefully each of the 6 regional directors of North America will be planning rides from their region to Houston. Yes. I know I will be doing that from our Southwest region, along with Ron and Scott being my partners in planning, whether they ride or not, but in planning anyway.
Did I hear you say you're from the Collingswood area?
Collingwood, Ontario, which is about an hour, 45 minutes north of Toronto.
Okay, I know Bruce Patterson from the Rotary Club up there was one of our members.
Okay.
He was an associate.
Yeah, Bruce is actually, we're co-directors of the chapter.
Yeah. Okay, Amanda, get him working on her.
I got him.
I actually think his name sounds really familiar. I hate to say that, but it's a small community up in Collingwood.
He does a lot of the Patriot rides, I think they call it. Mm-hmm. He's usually in a lot of those, and he works a lot. They do Rotary up there, does a lot with the community.
Yeah, we have a very active Rotary community up here. I know my kids have had some, they've done some things with charitable work, etc., with the Rotary community.
And actually, we've done a couple of trips out of Collingwood through him.
Yeah, he likes to plant stuff from there.
Yeah.
Paula, have you ever ridden the Icefields Parkway?
Excuse me?
Have you ever ridden the Icefields Parkway from Banff up to Jasper?
Yes.
Spectacular.
It's amazing. I've done it a couple of times this summer and last summer, because we were confined to, or I was confined to Canada. So, and as I said at the beginning, gave me the pleasure of riding my own country, which I take for granted. Yeah. Mainly because, in Ontario, I've said this to other riders, I'm in Ontario and we have wonderful roads if you go for a day or two north. But the, roads are a byproduct of population. And if you don't have the same quantity of population, you don't have the same crisscrossing of roads. You just don't, right? So you get down to, if I'm going to choose to go and spend a day and a half riding north or 4 hours to ride down to Pennsylvania, well, let's see, right? It's like, it's not a hard choice for me.
Well, for sure. So we already have a ride in the books right now for mid-May that it's going to be in Pennsylvania, Northern Virginia, this area up here. So, obviously we'll make sure that you have that information. And
yes, please.
You can go directly from that, just stay in the area and then ride with us to Houston. It'll be fun.
Okay, perfect. Well, look, this summer, 6-8 weeks, I've got my trailer, I've got my dog. The only restriction that changes for me really is by bringing my dog. It's actually part of slowing me down, because when I got on the motorcycle, I have a hard time getting off. So I can do, 600 700-mile days just because I think I can go a little further. Why not? Right. And with my dog, it'll force me to do a little less mileage per day, smell some of the roses along the way, and enjoy a little bit more. So that's part of the plan is self-serving.
This is Tom. I have an 11 to 12 pound Havanese dog. My daughter and son-in-law are both ER doctors, and they refused to grant me permission to put the dog on the motorcycle. So the idea of a trailer or a sidecar has come up, and I'm giving that serious consideration these days because my trips are limited to like 3 or 4 hours if I just leave her at home. But she loves traveling, so she would love the bike.
Well, I'll tell you something. When I introduced, and my dog Dory, she's 11.5 pounds, Jack Russell. She will, as long as she gets off the motorcycle every 2.5 hours or so, which is basically your tank of gas, right? You're stopping and whichever. She's fine. She loves it. She starts to cry. If she sees motorcycle gear coming out or sees me getting, she starts crying. If she sees the motorcycle, she starts turning in circles and jumping up and down. When she's on the motorcycle, if we stop for any period of time, or if her and I stop, it took her the first 2 years to realize that if we stopped at a stoplight didn't mean we were stopping the ride. But she gets upset. She wants to go. So my sort of thing is, I'm more concerned about weather. So if we're dealing with hot climates, is she being cooled properly? If it's cooler, is she being warmed properly? Besides that, she'll go all day. It's just,
well, she's family and got to be taken care of.
Yeah. And she'd rather be on the motorcycle than be anywhere else.
Very good.
This has been awesome. Thank you very much, Giselle. Awesome.
Well, thanks for including me. And please, I have to I have to go to actually a business Zoom call now, which is unfortunate. But if Amanda, can you send me the links I need and things like that?
Absolutely.
That'd be amazing.
Sure. I'm going to put you on all the list. You'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Ride
Stay
safe, everybody.
Exactly.
Thank you too.
Thanks for a great presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Thank
you all
you.
for including
Thank you.
me. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Wow, very impressive. Very nice.
I liked what she said about smelling the roses. Slow down and smell the roses. I was actually telling somebody the other day, somebody asked me, what's your favorite part about riding? And I was like, weirdly, it's smelling everything. I love like riding and smelling all the stuff, usually, right? There's some things you don't want to smell, right? But
yeah,
I can't.
She talked early on about a podcast that she did for a motorcycle safety group. That was the Boise State Motorcycle Safety Association. So I knew I had seen her before in several of those pictures, and it was in that podcast.
Awesome.
Hi, Glenn. Glenn is leaving us. So.
Hi, Glenn.
Yeah, so it was a nice. I like it, when it's for everybody. Everybody can find themselves in the presentation. I was expecting a little bit different from the must-have gear, but it's okay.
I'm sure she'd be happy to have a conversation with you directly about all the gear that she thinks is must-have.
Yes, exactly.
I think helmets are must-have, but I'm kind of a
I totally agree with that. But I can understand that the people want the feeling to be free. But personally, for me, it's when I'm going out here and I need only to go over 2 blocks to my service station to get this service for the next year, right? And I did it one time without helmet, and I start crying right away when I'm starting. So I cannot go without helmet, and I think it's not really safe at all. So
I rode home from the grocery store without my gloves on the other day, and it felt so weird.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I would never go without, not even gear. That's why gear is and by the way, Scott, I found something not at the company you uses because they had nothing for me. It's all a little bit more warm, but I found something in Germany on my trip. I had one day I can make some, um, appointments. I made some do's I wanted to do, and one was to go in the motorcycle store, and I found finally a trouser. It fits me, and I'm pretty happy with that. And that's really amazing. When I feel more comfortable when I'm protected. That's I remember I was on a ferry, and on the ferry it was very hot from Italy to a French island. And the thing was, we came up from the ferry. It was pretty hot. I had only my boots on, short trousers, because it was so hot on the ferry. And it's starting to getting dark. And I said, okay, whatever you do, but I need to put my leather dress on. I cannot ride with short, shorts finally in an area I don't know. And there was rocks on this side. On the other side, it was going down, 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 down. I felt very uncomfortable. So, and I really striked at this time, and I said, okay, I need to change my clothes.
Yeah, at the Aerostage, they were putting in a new zipper in the leg. And so Larry and Ron, you'll remember how I had to bungee the thing together on the ride in the Sierras. So they're taking care of that for free, which is nice. But when I ride without a one-piece suit, I feel like I'm naked on a bike. It's weird.
Yeah.
And a totally nerdy idea, we could have a meeting where everybody brings their motorcycle gear to show off and compare notes. Super nerdy, I know.
No, that's not nerdy. That's actually awesome. Actually, can we just do a swap meet, because my jacket doesn't fit? Who can I give it to? Mary, do you want my rose pink jacket?
No,
Too little?
No, it's too big.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, she have the opposite problem I have. For me, it's always too short, and for her, it's always too long. So.
I was telling you guys missed a riveting conversation earlier.
Yes.
How the padding in the knees of my pants and then my arms, my elbow padding is usually down around here, and my pants are usually down around my shins because everything's it's not right.
Uta, Susan just got a BMW suit. She's pretty tall. And
how tall she is? How tall?
She's 5'11".
You see, I'm 5'12".
Yeah.
So
yeah, and she had, and I don't remember which way it went, but she had to get one of the parts was a women's and the other part was a man's.
Exactly.
And that's what fit for her, But they're compatible. It's the same suit, just different size.
Okay, yeah, I made the same finally. I was going in a shop, but what I knew, this shop is a special motorcycle gear shop in Germany. And what they do is if something is not fitting or you have to repair something or whatever, they do it there. And this is why I was going over. And my other dress, it's an absolutely custom made one. I made also in Germany, but I couldn't find any kind of this stores in America. They make it custom made. They have some, whatever, but never custom made. And that's, for me, I have 1.10 meter only legs, that's pretty hard to find something. It is. But finally, I ended up now with a trouser for a guy, a skinny trouser for a guy that fits me, and a normal women jacket. So I'm pretty happy to find that now. Yeah, but I'm pretty excited to meet your wife, Ron, if she's tall like me.
She was hoping you were going to be in Maggie Valley.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
But
yeah, Ron's wife is one of my favorite human beings. I'm very glad that I got to meet her.
She's one of my favorites too. Don't tell her I said that.
I won't tell her.
You ruin everything.
Except that I think we're recording.
Yes, we do. But I can stop, by the way. So for everybody who joined the meeting tonight and is still here, thank you for joining us. It was the first one after my break, and thank you again, Amanda, for stepping up and helping me out. I really appreciate that. So I'm looking forward. I have some plans I brought with me, to make some more rides in the area with the people, and maybe for next year we see each other anyway. That's the second one. I need to finally get out is the ride after the convention. I started working on that before I was going to Germany, and I have to finish that really. But there's not really people. I can tell you there's a lot of events they need to cancel because nobody right now is really make reservations for the events. And my husband and I was talking about that tonight, and it looks like a disaster because nobody knows really they can go, especially the international guests. There is a lot of people, and now, but it's only between us, they say something about they don't want to go to Houston. We have a couple from New Jersey. They don't want to go to Houston because of this political things. Can you imagine? This is not why we are in Rotary, right? So what have this to do with Rotary International?
Politics has nothing to do with Rotary, and it should be always kept out.
Thank you, Keith. And there's also things I really like on Texas. I don't like everything on each state, but I don't have to, because when I'm in Rotary, I'm talking over motorcycle. I'm talking over, what we can do together to help to make a better world and to, eliminate polio or whatever, but not about politics that have
I
no
think
place.
getting rid of politics would be a great start to making the world a better place.
Yeah.
Eradicate politics. That could be our new thing. Yeah.
What's that?
We could eradicate
Eradicate
politics.
politics.
Polio.
Exactly. We make a right against politics.
I love it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Defund politicians. I like it.
Politics.
One of us would end up president over that. Yeah.
Our ride back to Maggie Valley was kind of confusing because we never knew whether to put masks on or not. Because the states were all over the map, and it was just we'd get halfway into some place and have to turn back around and go back to the bikes and get dig masks out from underneath whatever in your saddlebag that's been sitting there for 5 days, in the rain.
Ooh, this mask smells like motor oil.
I had the same in Germany already because they are very strict, But Ron, by the way, was there a law you have to wear the mask under the helmet?
Oh, that's crazy.
I haven't seen that.
I'm kidding. I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
Georgia State University,
it wouldn't surprise me in some places, but that's I don't want to get political now.
At Georgia State University, I had no idea this was happening, but there's politics behind whether you wear a mask or not. It is optional in Georgia for state employees. So I'm walking around with no mask because I'm fully inoculated. But there are people that wear masks and scowl at me when I'm walking down the hall. I'm like, what is their problem? Then I figured it out. Oh, okay. They think I'm a bad man. Okay.
Well,
great.
I will tell you guys, I've been tempted to put my mask on because it's been so dry and dusty here.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to ride with my mask when I'm riding because I'm like, you know what? Actually, that would probably save my lungs a little bit. But
I got slandered in the breakfast room in Santa Fe when we were coming back. I had the audacity to walk in, go into the courtyard area without a mask.
Without a mask.
And, without a mask. And that was, and I was, they were whispering about me at the tables.
Ever tell you guys a story? When we moved out to Colorado, I played rugby, and we moved out to Colorado, and my house is at 6,200 feet. And I was invited to come down to Santa Fe to play a rugby tournament. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, please, finally go down to Santa Fe and actually breathe and play rugby. And that's when I learned that Santa Fe is at 7,000 feet.
I love more Albuquerque. I thought Santa Fe is a little bit more like, arrogant. So I love more Albuquerque. The people are more, really nice. So we had our honeymoon there. This is why I know the area. So.
When we walked downtown, they have all of these coats of arms of all the family names that founded Santa Fe, and Schutz is one of them. My mom's family name. I was kind of surprised.
Schultz.
No, with no L. Schutz.
Okay, that's pretty German.
Yeah, a little German.
Folks, I'm going to jump. I got
to
I got a bail too.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
Good night. Nice to
Good
see you
night.
again.
Amanda, we need to talk.
Yeah, for sure about the memberships, both of them, actually.